Alright, let's do this one last time. Hey, I'm back. I'm kinda slaying at this YouTube thing. Scary thing is, I'm just throwing what I can at the wall to see if it sticks. But hey, I'm pleasantly surprised, especially after how bad the last video turned out. I literally looked over it twice, saw no issues. As soon as I uploaded it, I realised so many things, like the audio cutting in a couple spots, and a couple spots where the media player controls pop up, which kinda got annoying. Today, I'm gonna try recording outside the closet. As much as many people recommended I record in the closet to deal with noise interference, I also think it kinda creates a stupid echo. This is all beside the point. Today I'm going to be talking about American Dad, its identity crisis, and a problem that stems from an early decision that I'm not sure if they can ever come back from. Reading this, I'm realising it sounds a lot worse than what it's gonna be. Like, I still love American Dad, probably more than Family Guy. I've just realised it's got a couple issues, which I honestly think stem from its connection to Family Guy. This is probably gonna be a much shorter video, so I guess let's get it started. So, the so-called identity crisis, as I'm calling it, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, since it gives a multitude of episode concepts, ideas, and ways for these episodes to be presented. It just feels like American Dad is struggling to find what it wants to be. Like with every show that's been on the air for a while, it has its errors. You've got your classic, your modern, the stuff in between, I don't know what people are calling those. But the most recent couple seasons, the modern era, it kinda feels like it doesn't know what it wants to be. It'll jump around, this and that. But looking back on a few eras of the show, you have the original classic, which is basically the Family Guy clone, but then you move on to seasons 3 to 5, where they start to embrace continuity with characters like Debbie and Reginald, which was probably done in a way to distance themselves from Family Guy because of all the comparisons. Now you have a few episodes each season that lead directly into each other. Weirdly, around the same time, Family Guy also started to dip into continuity with similar storylines with Gillian. Rarely would a Gillian appearance directly lead into the next episode. There was usually a 5 to 10 episode break between her episodes. Sometimes nearly a whole season, but I think that was after her and Brian broke up. But after a couple of years, American Dad dropped their love subplots, likely again to distance themselves from Family Guy. Heck, it's not even because of a direct comparison to the love plot. They've literally admitted to dropping Reginald because they don't need another reason to be compared to Family Guy, which, if at the time you had a dog relationship arc, you'd probably think a koala relationship arc may be comparable. So yeah, after that, American Dad was still slightly dipping their feet into the continuity pool for season 5, but we really only got 2 episodes with Debbie, but they were pretty spaced out. We did get a couple fun sci-fi and CIA lore episodes, like why Roger was sent to Earth and Stan's body double. Although he was Hayley's rebound after Jeff broke up with her again and then Stan pretended to be him. Ugh. Not the best look for their show. Continuity seems to be completely dropped by season 6, but by this point American Dad had found its footing as a fun sci-fi show. Season 7 came back strong with the Hayley eloping arc. You get the 2 episodes setting up the arc and directly dealing with the fallout. Hayley is gone for a few episodes and then kinda randomly turns back up in a bad Thanksgiving episode. Then a couple episodes later, in an episode that's important to Jeff, they set up the string of Christmas specials, as tradition becomes that Santa's trying to kill the Smiths. I forgot to mention this earlier, but very early on in the show they set up the Golden Turd saga, which runs until like season 15. Don't quote me on that because I added it to the script last minute because I just remembered it. Which, speaking of, I may as well go on a tangent. The Golden Turd starts off pretty good. After Roger lays the Golden Turd, there's a few pretty chilling segments. Then there's a weird political one that's not really good, and then they add in this random cult that wants to return the turd to Roger so that they can usher in world peace or something. The episode where they actually achieve that is pretty good, but leading up, I can't say it was. It was nice to see something so beloved from the early seasons come back and corrupt all the Smiths at least. So yeah, started off pretty good, ended pretty good, but the middle is mid. I guess that's why it's called the middle. Sorry for running off on a tangent there, I just realised there's not really an era to put the Golden Turd into unless I wanted to dissect it all separately, which I didn't really dissect it, but you know, couldn't really talk about it separately. After season 7, continuity is kinda few and far between. We get a couple episodes here and there, but it's really only those couple episodes. Until we reach Naked to the Limit one more time in season 9. This is the episode where Jeff finds out Roger is an alien and gets sent to space. After this, we get 2 more episodes in Season 9 touching on this story. We get Spelling Bee My Baby, where Stan and Roger push Hayley through the 5 stages of grief, and Lost in Space, where we check in on Jeff, apparently visiting Roger's home planet. It was just a giant shopping mall. I don't even think it was a planet because it was a spaceship. After that, we get 2 episodes a season, one focusing on Jeff, one focusing on Hayley, until Jeff returns in Season 11, but it turns out he's an alien posing as Jeff, which is weirdly dropped for 2 seasons until Season 13, where Hayley and Jeff want a baby, so Roger gives birth to human Jeff in a 2-episode arc. Which was nice to see the return of episodes directly leading into each other. After Season 13, continuity is once again dropped. The only continuity we really get after is them rushing to the end of the Golden Turd saga and the Santa episodes, which is weird, the Santa episodes aren't bad or anything. But since he's the only sprinkles of continuity in the show now, it basically makes him the main villain. We also have random sequel episodes that come out of the fray, like a sequel to Evil Barry, Stan's baldness, or a continuation of the episode where Jeff lost his hat. The last technical spread of continuity is when they introduce new side characters like Grogu or Garfield, which they do stick around, but hardly any of them have stories to tell. Even with Santa, all we usually really get is a recap of him coming back to life, and then he just has some new random scheme of the week. May as well call him a villain of the week. The only new character that really ended up mattering was Grogu, and he was just used to track down Roger's body parts in the episode 300. Nowadays, the only things we'll really get are lore drops and backstories, like the first time Roger crashed on Earth, and even then they're pretty rare. I guess Hayley goes to community college and has a job at Subhub, but they're not really relevant, it's just places she goes to open up more story potential for her. Another thing contributing to this identity crisis is American Dad being cancelled in 2013. Then the show was revived by TBS, meaning the show underwent a massive overhaul in order to fit in with their new channel. It honestly just led to the show getting a lot raunchier, but all these changes really make the show feel inconsistent. I personally don't mind, especially since it's the stories getting wackier, not the characters, unlike shows like Family Guy where they play into one core idea with the character, and then it gets exaggerated. American Dad gave the characters new interests and hobbies so their personalities could naturally be explored in these new environments. Like I previously mentioned, Hayley has a job and goes to community college. Some of her best modern episodes take place in these environments, such as Pride Before the Fail, which sees Stan telling Hayley that once she graduates she'll have to move out. So she decides she's going to have to fail, but Roger wants her room and enrolls one of his personas at the community college and does everything in his power to make sure she graduates. It's kind of a back and forth of if she's going to pass or not, and then Roger has to fake the death of his persona so that Hayley will pass. Hayley ends up bullying the dead persona in front of the whole school, making him bring her back out, meaning Hayley goes back to failing and gets to remain in the Smith house. Now, I love American Dad. I think it's way better than Family Guy, but I think in trying to distance itself from Family Guy, it also inadvertently hurt itself. Since people always love to look back on classic seasons of shows, it's always those kinds of episodes they're looking for, and anything that doesn't match the original few seasons will immediately be labelled as trash or lesser. This is mainly by the general audience, but I feel like that's probably the majority of people who still watch the show. Now, I know there are a lot of people who recognise American Dad is still good, especially compared to other adult animated sitcoms, but I also feel like I see a lot of people clamouring for the show to return to the classic feel, which I guess could include seasons 3 to 6 since they are still seasons people look back on fondly. I just also feel like people are referring to the first 2 seasons alone, especially since there's a large portion of people who still think American Dad is just Family Guy but done again. Which anyone who's watched past season 2 should know that's not true. I guess like in what LS Mark said in his recent Meg video, it's hard to pinpoint what Family Guy's about, and I'd say the same is technically true for American Dad, although it's probably easier to say what it's about because of the continuity and stuff. I'd still say even though it's hard to pinpoint what they are about, you can tell how different they are. And with that, we've reached the end of another video. I can't tell if I've rushed this one more since it felt like I finished the script really fast, but at the same time it's also a lot shorter. I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do with this channel. I don't even know what the best way to record is. I guess we're going to see if outside the closet is better because, that's what I'm doing for this one. I guess for now I'm trying to figure out which shows are popular to make good videos on, which is why I'm doing such broad topics to begin with. And with that, I guess you guys can tell me what you think about American Dad, and if you think it's got a problem relating to the classic seasons or any kind of era of the show. Because with that, I've been Egg Beater, I have no idea how to close these things, and I just wanna leave. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe, as all the cool guys say.